And good morning, and welcome to Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. So we talked to the head basketball coach for the Wawasee Warriors, Coach John Everingham. Coach, thanks for coming in this morning.
Good morning, guys.
Since we last spoke on Coach's Corner here, we played a couple games. That first game we played, we traveled up to Middlebury to take on the Northridge Raiders. They were an awful good basketball team.
They are. I think they're developing too. You know, they played some really tough teams. They got a tough schedule, and you know, for example, you know, Penn. I think Penn is ranked 5th in the state right now. They're 17, 18 wins, probably 2 losses, and Northridge takes them to triple overtime in a game that they probably feel like, you know, they should have won. So they're a very competitive team. They've been really good the last couple of years and lost some key seniors, but they just kind of reloaded, you know, for this year. So I've said this before, but anytime you are playing NLC basketball games, it's always going to be tough, but especially, you know, Northridge on the road, that was a tough game.
But we played pretty well.
Oh, yeah. And their head coach is really good. We had a nice conversation with him, and he's one of my cousins.
Yeah.
Both his grandparents came from Poland. So, So there we go. So anyhow.
I did listen to that on the radio. I think or you were saying on the post game, or I heard you saying somewhere that was the case. But Scott Radiker he's a quality human being. He's a good guy. Like I said, you know, with Jason Ridge being there and Ronnie Thomas and now Scott Radiker, Ryan Bales as the athletic director there. Those guys are good friends of mine and just overall really good people. So it's kind of hard to have the sort of feelings that I have towards Northridge when you got such good people over there on the sidelines. But, you know, that gymnasium brings back a lot of memories for me, good battles when I played at Goshen and coached at Goshen. And then the last game of the regular season for me when I was at DeKalb, we always played at Northridge. So I have a long history over in that gymnasium. And I will tell you, since we're on the radio, right, we're telling stories.
Oh, good. I love your stories. Yeah, I love your stories.
Yeah. The birthday of the twins. I coached a game over there at Northridge, a freshman basketball game. I was a freshman basketball coach, and I remember the twins were born at like 1:30 a.m. and they were doing fine by, you know, the next evening, which is still the same day, right? Technically.
Yeah.
And they had told Carly, they said, well, we're going to give you some medicine and you're going to sleep for about 4 to 6 hours, which I was like, hey. And she looked at me and she said, you want to go coach, don't you? And I said, well, I got somebody covering that end. Well, I'll take care of the things at the hospital. And she goes, go coach if you want to coach. I was out of there in about 5 minutes and went over there and coached a freshman game. And a kid named Brock Bender hit about a 15-foot game winner from the right wing. So I'll never forget that game because the pregame speech, I said, today's been the best day of my life. Don't screw it up.
Don't mess it up.
Oh, wow.
And we had 5 turnovers. We had 5 turnovers in a freshman game.
Oh, my gosh. That's huge. I mean, that's great.
So I'll never forget that day, obviously, for obvious reasons. But the funny part to that day, or funny story to that day, is I did go over to Northridge and coach a game. So anyway, but this one, the varsity game on Tuesday didn't quite turn out like we had planned.
It was a good game. All your games, Coach. My gosh, your kids play 40 out of the 32 minutes.
Yeah,
you know, and they're in it. Every kid on that bench is into the game all the time.
Yeah.
So you know, it's just coming up short a couple of times. That's part of what? Part of life.
Yeah, it is. You know, you know, the thing is when people watch us play, and you guys have watched all of our games, but you know, their games were coming up on the short end of the stick, but it isn't for a lack of effort, buy-in to what we're doing. You know, we're trying to put some pieces in place that are going to make us just a little bit better so we can get over the top, and you're starting to see those things happen on the floor, but just not quite consistently enough. You know, we know that we're playing 6 or 7 guys right now, and the style of basketball that we're playing, you know, on the defensive end, it just takes a lot of effort.
Sure it does.
And they're putting forth a lot of effort, and you know, we go out in the third quarter against Northridge, and I think we got 3 straight stops at the beginning of the third quarter, and we decided to kind of pull the ball out just a little bit and try to shorten the game just a little bit.
Right.
And the reason is it has nothing to do with X's and O's. It's just trying to conserve some energy so we have the sort of energy that we need, down the stretch. And those are hard philosophies to sell to young kids. They think we just need to shoot more and we need to score more points. And especially being down 8 to Northridge, that one is a tough one to sell. But, as I talked to him at halftime and what the things that we needed to do to start the third quarter, I said, we need stops and we need to execute on a long possession. And sure enough, we got a stop. I think Maddox got a steal on a cross-court pass. And then we executed kind of our high offense, getting them to come out and get us a little bit. And we got a backdoor cut where Dukes tried to attempt a dunk and missed the dunk, got his own rebound, and put it back in. So at that point, we were down 6, a 2-possession game, and about maybe 5.5 or 6 minutes to go in the third quarter. So, once again, we're selling things to the kids and they're buying into it and they're doing everything they can to execute, those things. So I'm really proud of those guys for believing in us and what we're selling them and executing, and so I thought that was a really good sign.
Again, I'm just impressed with their hard work the whole time. I mean, even when you're down, you called timeout, you'd call a timeout, and you'd talk to them, and they'd come back and execute or try to execute whatever you guys were talking about in timeout. They never stopped, the whole group of them.
So then last night, spaghetti dinner night for the band, and Goshen here back at the Hardwood Teepee. And we were right there with them the whole way. We'd catch up and maybe fall back a little, catch up. And right there, we were catching up pretty well.
I listened to your broadcast when I went home last night, and it was, I think one of you said, the Goshen just has an answer for everything that we're throwing at them, And so we cut the lead to, I believe it was 40-36.
Yeah.
Late in the game.
That's
where
right.
It felt like we had some momentum, and then Drew Hogan would score a couple buckets right in a row and take the lead from 4-8 just like that. And so, that's kind of what he does. He just took control of the game when he absolutely had to, made some scooping, drives to the basket. We just didn't quite keep him in front like we wanted to. But again, it's like a broken record or Groundhog Day. We just didn't quite make the plays like they did in key situations in the game. Now, we were right there. We were right there with them and had opportunities to really kind of get the game a little closer. But honestly, last night it just didn't knock down the shots that were open.
And they had the pair of 6-7 men, which really cut down on our offensive rebounds. Their defensive glass was very good, which when you got 2 6-7 guys, you're going to get that.
Yeah. They have all the pieces of the puzzle.
Exactly.
They got an outstanding 4-year starter at point guard, and
Right.
Drew Hogan, he's up around 1,100, career points. He controls everything for them. And so, that high ball screen that they run with the 6-7 guy, forces us to hedge out and try to take the ball out of his hands. But he would beat 2 of our guys, to the basket. So
Hogan's got skills. There's no question about it.
he's a very good player. I think he's a 3-year NLC All-Conference guy.
He is.
And he's deserving of all the accolades that he's gotten, just because I think, from what I know about him, and that he's a good kid, and he just plays so hard and battles, and so they're going to miss him a lot next year.
And one thing I've noticed is the teams that shoot from the outside, and we're definitely an outside shooting team, teams that shoot from the outside have a greater spread from their average of how many they'll hit. If you're a team that goes into the paint, puts the hole in the paint, whatever your average isn't going to move that much from game to game.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with teams that shoot from the outside, it moves a lot. We only shot 2 of 10 from the outside in the first half, and that's just going to be the nature of an outside shooting team, right?
Yeah, just you become an inconsistent, team.
Just by the nature of the way you do it.
Yeah, we've had games where we've shot 60% from 3 and we look awfully good. And so it's kind of the old coaching saying that certainly when your players go out there and make shots, it makes you look better as a coach.
Yeah,
Standing
you win
on
games.
the sidelines. Yeah, you win.
I mean, you win games. Every shot. I cannot. When we're calling the games, Bill and I talk about this even on the air. Every shot they take is decent.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody's throwing up garbage.
Yeah.
They're all nice. They square up. They shoot, and it's around the rim and or through the bucket,
Through the
whichever.
entire game last night,
Yes.
I can only think of two, and those were coming down at the end with the clock bearing down on us, and that's a different animal.
Yeah.
But I thought Kaz and I talk about shot selection. It's good shot selection, but because it's from the outside, you just have that greater variability factor.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's actually 100% correct, and that's why we need to develop interior play. And so we have some guys capable of doing that, but they're just not real confident doing that right now. Obviously you look at Colin Robertson, and you think, at 6'5", he's the leading candidate to give us some interior play,
Sure.
and he did last night.
Yeah.
Made a really nice spin move on the baseline and scored. Looked like an easy, wide open layup, and he knocked it down in the first half. He also slipped some screens, to the basket. I think he scored, just missed an and one, made one free throw, and then slipped a few possessions later, slipped another one and made the bucket. So, he certainly is a leading candidate to take care of some of that interior presence. And then I think once he starts doing that and drawing some attention, he might be able to kick out, and we get better, looks from the outside.
Well, inside out play.
Yeah. And so, you think about the percentage that we shoot from 3-point range, almost always every shot is contested.
Yes.
We got a defensive player right on us. So that certainly decreases your percentage in shooting. So some people say, well, we didn't shoot the ball real well last night, which is true. But they were almost all contested. And so we need to do a better job of getting the ball to the basket with the drive, with the pass, getting it into the post. And then when we start drawing attention in the post, then maybe we can kick it out for easier, 3-point looks like other teams are getting.
One of the other things I really thought last night was you moved the ball really well on offense. I mean, they passed the ball and moved the ball, and they were very unselfish. They took, good shots because they moved the ball and found the open guy a lot last night.
Yeah, we were down, I think, 9-2 again, kind of fell back into, falling behind.
Dug a little hole.
Early.
Yeah.
And then, at the end of the first quarter, you look up and it's 11-10.
Yeah, it was right there.
And we ran a lot of sets early in the game. And so we weren't running our, blocker mover stuff where, we're driving up, hitting the pin down, things like that. We were running sets, in an attempt to score. And some of those sets we haven't run, all season long. We just have run them in practice. And I think we can do a better job of executing, those sets. And we'll probably work on that just a little bit today. We missed some screens that would have gotten some guys open. Now we run the sets, but just not well enough, if that makes sense. And so we just need to work on some execution. But we still, after running all of our sets, probably 8 sets, in the first quarter, we're only down 11-10. I thought that was a pretty good sign as well.
Yeah, and I was just looking at the score. The first quarter you're down 1, second quarter you're down 4. The third quarter you're going into the fourth quarter, we were only down 6.
Yeah.
I mean, you were in the game the whole time, and the last quarter we're just not able to keep them. But it was a very exciting game to call again.
Well, I looked at the quarter scores. And, we only lost the first quarter by 1. I know you got it in front of you there. What was second quarter?
Lost the second quarter by 4. It was 25-21. Third quarter, again, we're only down 6, 37-31. So, again, you were in the game the whole time. And then in that fourth quarter, you lost by 10 and wound up with that 50-40 loss. But, gee whiz, exciting games.
Yeah, and there's just not a whole margin for error for us, when we are doing things. But you look at Goshen, that's how you beat somebody by 10 points. It's just like a very consistent interior, exterior approach to just beating somebody. You beat them by 2 in the first, you beat them by 4 in the second. Then you find yourself with the lead late in the game like they did. You combine that with really good guards, and they played keep away at the end, made us foul.
Yes.
and they won by 10.
Yeah.
It was a very well orchestrated, 10-point victory in my opinion on Goshen's
Yeah,
part.
they went to the Sorrel Raymond. Help me out here, Beryl. The Sorrel.
Ghost of Coach Sorrel.
Yeah, it was there.
Yeah, really.
It descended upon them, and they did a good job
There you go.
of just making you foul.
Yeah.
Back with more Coach's Corner here in just a moment on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. And welcome back to Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com as we talk to the head basketball coach of the Wawasee Warriors, Coach John Everingham. Coach, the fans come to the high school and we come here for a game and sit down and watch all the activities and take advantage of all the things going on, but there are so many moving parts to put together a high school basketball game in this day and age. It's not like it used to be. There are a lot of different things that go on, and preparation starts at least a day beforehand. I mean, lots of planning and stuff, but the actual putting it all together starts well before basketball time.
Yeah, it's certainly true, and there's a lot of adults and there's a lot of students that put in a lot of hard work into making it what it is, and I think just going back, when I thought about getting into coaching basketball in the state of Indiana, it's certainly exciting, and you think about all the dreams of what you want it to look like.
You and Hoosiers.
Yeah, and certainly you have that here at Wawasee.
Yes.
It's really there's a community feel to coming out and watching students participate. And so when you come to Wawasee, you see it all over the place. It's not just the basketball players on the floor, but certainly we know about the broadcast and the things that we do in the radio, TV. I have to mention, the pep band that works as hard as they do, getting ready to go out there and have a little fun and play music for us. And it just adds, to the overall excitement, of the night when you got the pep band over there playing.
Oh, my.
And then you can go just little things that you wouldn't think a whole lot about. But, the athletic department getting the concessions ready and the TVs in the commons. I don't even know who does that. Does radio TV do that? Yep. It's just the overall, when people walk around our facilities and see how many kids are invested in one night, I think it's pretty cool, and I think people are coming to our games, watching kids on the floor play their hearts out. They look around the gymnasium and they see all these other kids participating in different things. I truly believe this too, and I wish we could compound that with a win on the basketball floor. But I think people are most impressed with the amount of kids that we have involved in a game night, and last night I thought the crowd was really good, and people are coming out and supporting what we're doing on game nights, for basketball. I will add to the upper deck last night, with our culinary arts.
Oh my, is that great or what?
Cube steak.
Oh, I tried to steal the one every time, and the head chef over there, he says no. He says, "You guys watch Szynal. Don't let him get in here." So,
oh, I can't speak intelligently.
Another place Cass has been banned.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Hey, we might go down the fridge after the radio show.
Oh, really?
They got extras
Oh,
down
okay.
there.
There's
Well,
leftovers.
There is
You
leftovers.
never tell Kaz there's leftovers. You never make that statement. Anyway, go on.
Go on.
I can speak very highly on the quality of food that they're preparing, because I do get a leftover 1 or 2 boxes, and
Oh,
Well, I
wow.
can tell you that they took 2 refrigerators out of the teacher's lounge at Wawasee Middle School because every time Kaz showed up, everybody else's lunches vanished.
Yeah.
So be careful on that.
Yeah, I love to eat leftovers and stuff. Matter of fact, I always pick up the popcorn in the
I know
stands
you do.
on the way out, and I thought, why would somebody waste popcorn?
And I
Yeah.
think
I mean, it's
I
really
love
good.
popcorn.
Anyhow, Van Loo's getting up and leaving after he hears
it's
that.
like off the air. That's the moment Kaz lost it, right? Picking up popcorn and eating it.
Yeah, he's like a bird.
Yeah.
A giant bird.
No,
Anyhow.
but I think when people come, like I said, it's got to be impressive to see the amount of stuff that we have going on, and big shout out to Ann Ritchie with the projectors, the new projectors that we had, and we have our little hype video before the game. I don't know if you guys got a chance to see.
You did.
To kind of see
we were
that.
watching that.
But the lights off, the lights, the kind of
Yes.
circle. It's like a big production, an entertainment production. And again, there's a lot of adults that are leading the way on that, and we're very appreciative of them creating, an atmosphere for kids that is memorable, and so I think when the kids look back on this season, we actually had Kyle Dukes come in and do a little pregame thing, and he said the same thing I've been saying for weeks, really. But when you look back on seasons, I've been a part of a lot of seasons, and when you get back together with your guys or your team,
yes.
you rarely talk about what your record was. It's always about, hey, remember that time in the
yes.
locker room? Remember that time, on the bus, or remember that one game that we played, and remember the atmosphere that we generated when I was in school and things like that. You just very rarely, talk about wins and losses unless you win a championship. A sectional is a big deal around here and in the state of Indiana. But, what we're doing right now within our basketball program, I think is just the coolest thing. And when you live and breathe inside of the program, you understand how memorable it's going to be for these boys.
And the kids remember that their whole lives. I mean, I love to, every time I come in here, I walk up and down and look at the pictures of my kids on the different sports. And my favorite thing to do is when we get all together, which is not very often anymore, have them all put on their leather jackets, and we take a picture every year. So I've got a picture of all the kids. And, what do we talk about? We don't talk about the calculus class or the history class.
What? Yeah, we don't talk about math class?
No, well, my wife does because she teaches the math. But I'll tell you, and I remember all the athletics and the time I missed a ground ball, went right through my legs and we lost the game. It's just part of what growing up.
Yeah.
What impresses me as much as anything, not necessarily the things that occur every time, but the thing that keeps the fan coming back is that's not true. The whole thing is what keeps the fan coming back. But the variety of one-time events that are then mixed into things like the concession stand and such as that. Like when we got together with Concord on the cancer thing. All right, that was huge.
That was huge.
And it's a one-time shot, but it just shows the expansiveness of the support throughout the system. Last night's spaghetti supper with the band, it's done once a year, but that was the thing prior to the game for that night, and that takes an incredible amount of coordination.
Oh my gosh!
Because everybody's got one thing, so you got to make sure everybody's got their one date. And that impresses me as much as anything else.
Yeah, I think, if you're out talking to your neighbor and say, hey, you want to go catch a ball game tonight? That team's pretty good, man. We've been pretty close, and they put in a good show. Things are first class.
Yep.
From the moment you walk in the door to the moment you leave, what I hope is, the people that represent Wawasee, including the basketball program, is that you're going to be proud of what you see.
Yes.
And so. I noticed last night, and I know I'm probably, what do you call it, grabbing at straws, or little things that I appreciate. And Colin had a play last night where it didn't go his way, and he's laying on the floor with the ball. He hops up with the ball. He runs a solid 15 feet to hand the ball to the official.
Wow!
And I noticed those things, and I just think, if I'm a fan, if I'm a member of this community, and you think, okay, well, I know they're losing a little bit, but man, look at those boys and how hard they play.
Yeah.
And how much they want it, and how polite, respectful. Now, there is competition going on, so, there's certainly some minor, scuffles and bumping and certainly some talking from time to time, and that's what happens when you compete. But I think the overall picture throughout the course of the season is that we have very respectful boys. They play as hard as they can. They compete. And I think people around here appreciate that, and I really do.
And even when they get a little anxious at each other, I mean, they'll still come up, and after it's all over with, and after somebody talks, hey, they're back on their friends. They give each other a fist bump, and then they're back on the floor doing their thing to try to win the games.
We should take a quick moment to recognize the freshmen, or the C team, who did a fantastic job this week. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, they played Mishawaka in the regular season, and like all, let's just say, like all teams, there were some opportunities for learning. Let's just put it that way, for some of our players in the last week or so on that team, and so we did have a player that wasn't available to play that was a starter. We're going into the first round of the NLC, and playing against Mishawaka, was a team we lost to.
Yeah.
And one of their players had 28 points. And so it would have been easy to say we're down a starter and this one's just not going to go our way. Yeah. And so they went out there, and I watched, the game on Thursday. I was here at Wawasee, and Coach Wilson kind of pulled out a few little strategical, different things that he tried during the game, and they ended up winning. And it was handily. I think it was 10+ points. And so that puts them in the finals against Northridge at Warsaw in the Final Four of the NLC, freshman tournament.
Yeah.
So
today it starts at 9 at Warsaw.
Yep, so.
And he was really proud of Brendan Miller and Dallas Miller and Braden Pike and this Dukes kid, Kane Duke.
That's right.
So we got more Dukes coming up.
Yeah, more Dukes.
But he was really proud of those kids. And the way Wilson talked about him, he said, "Hey, I want you to put this on there." So he's a great guy. I had him in class and coaching for something. But he's a good kid too.
He does a really good job with the kids, and it's like our season. You're going through your ups and downs, and you're trying to develop these kids and teach them, the core values that are required to move on, to the JV or the varsity in our program. And he does a really good job on that side of things, and knows a lot about basketball, and certainly got his team playing, their best basketball. And they've had opportunities to say, let's just not worry about this and let's go have fun or whatever. And they're playing their best basketball at the end of the season. So I think it speaks very highly of Coach Wilson and the players on that team. So by the time this airs, we will have known how they did today. But as we sit and talk this morning, we're not sure exactly how they're going to do.
I forgot about that, yeah.
They're 2 games away from a freshman NLC championship.
Well, that would be phenomenal.
Yeah.
That would be excellent. It really would. JV doing pretty well these days. I was impressed with their level. They won last night, but really impressed with their approach to the game and their stick-to-itiveness. They were behind the whole thing, but came out the winner in the end.
Yeah, of course, I'm in talking to the varsity, during the fourth quarter of the JV game, and Coach O'Connell comes in, and I'm like, "Hey, how's it going out there?" And he shakes his head. He said, "We're down 7, about 3 minutes to go," or something like that. And I thought, crud. But in all honesty, they were down like 6 to 8 the whole game.
Yeah, they were.
They just
more than that even.
Yeah. So I go out there, and we're up. Weston Hofford is shooting a free throw, up 3 with 10 seconds to go, and he knocks them both down. We're up 5, and we win the game. Well, I look over at Nate, and I said, "What in the world happened?" Well, he said, Robbie hit a 3, Weston hit a 3, and a couple
3
other
threes
things.
in a row.
Yeah.
You guys hit, the JV did.
Shooting from the outside came alive, and there you were.
Yeah.
It just shooting from the outside is so much fluctuation.
Yeah, and it certainly, like I said earlier, it makes you look good as a coach when those shots are going down. But those guys too. The same thing I just been saying about the varsity, but and the C team, through the ups and downs, they've stuck together. And again, when you're down 7 with 3 minutes to go, you might think, it's not going to work out for us tonight. But I think Robbie Finlinson had 21 points again, getting solid contributions, from Darius Lewis, Carson Smith, and Weston Hofford. And another kid you really got to keep your eye on is Weston DeLong, who is by far the most improved player, in our program from the beginning of last year to the end of this season. So from his beginning of his freshman year to the end of the sophomore year, he's 6'4", really learning a lot about what it's going to take to be a varsity basketball player. And I will add one other player's name that actually saw the floor against Northridge in Cole Young. And so Cole had one of the better defensive performances against Mishawaka. We bumped him up, and he's dressing varsity now and actually got on the floor against Northridge. I think played 2 defensive possessions there. So yeah, a lot of good things happening at the C team and the freshman level, and then also obviously at the JV level as well.
When we come back, Coach Beasley is going to join us. We're going to talk a little bit about his contribution to the basketball program, and we might have to dig back into the history vaults and talk a little bit about that too here in just a moment on Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. And welcome back to Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. Talking to Scott Beasley, volunteer assistant coach here with the Wawasee Warrior basketball program. Scott, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having us, guys. I appreciate it.
You've got such a long, storied tradition of Wawasee basketballness. Talk about this year's group, this year's seniors, and what you see they bring to the table.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, they're two great kids, great leaders. You know, they put in a lot of time here at Wawasee. You know, I can't say enough about them. It was a special night for them last night. You always like to come away with the W, but you know, they played their hearts out, and that's what we talk about. And those guys, and seeing the younger kids that can learn from those guys, right? You know, how hard Keaton Dukes plays, and you know, day in, day out, you know, practice, and Caden Welty the same way at practice, and the amount of energy they put into it. And at the end of the day, though, too, is, you know, I really wish we could have come away with a W, but it's what are we learning as we're going through this, you know, and how are we going to take this into sectionals?
You know, Coach, I was just talking to the head coach, and he was talking how good that it is to have someone from the community with your experience and your basketball knowledge and your ability to be able to coach and help these kids out. And I watch you. Of course, I watch the bench a lot while Bill's doing it, and you are constantly you are focused on those kids, and you're focused on the bench, and you have your other coaches that you talk to, and then it goes back to the head guy there, and you just do a great job. Talk about that a little bit.
Oh, I appreciate it, Cass. Thanks very much. It's you know, John's a phenomenal coach. I can't say, you know, first of all, he's a great friend of mine, and it was I was very honored that he asked me to help out this year, and that I'm having a blast with it. It's so fun to be around the kids and be involved and to help give back what little I know about basketball to help be around them. And,
that's not true, but go on.
You know, they're very coachable, and that's what's so fun with this group of kids, and they're wanting to learn, and their willingness to learn to become you know great players and ultimately win games, and that's what's fun.
What is it you think you bring to the table for this group?
That's a tough question there, Bill.
That's why they pay me the big bucks.
Yeah.
You know, I like the just being the interaction with the kids. You know, I think sometimes as coaches, and John would attest to this probably, you get caught up in, you know, doing his job, right? Which is, you know, we got to work on the, you know, the 2-3 zone or off and whatever we're working on,
the
right?
nuts and bolts of it all.
Where I try to keep it fun and laid back, and you know, there's an element to, you know, working hard and getting after it, and that's always part of it at practice. It's got to have some fun, right? That's the whole point of why we're doing this too, and learning things. So I think being able to relate with the kids and is what hopefully I can bring and help out and kind of keep it going in that direction.
You know, one of the big things I noticed is your intensity. Oh my gosh, you think you were still playing again. You are really intense with these kids in a very, very positive way, and I think that's huge as far as the kids being able to learn from you. Go ahead and talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, you know, I probably, I think I get that from my mom. You guys probably recall back in the day, it wasn't hard to spot her in the gym during games.
Oh, gosh.
Which was, you know, the passion for the game, and that's what's, you know, I want it so bad for them. And, you know, it's you know, I want them to see that too, you know, the passion and the drive to work hard and to try to, you know, get over the top, which we're doing. And it's going to happen this year. You know, we're you know, 4 games left, I think it is, and it's all preparing for the sectional, you know.
You have a great storied tradition of Wawasee basketball. You come from the Beasley family, which is part of a huge piece of Wawasee basketball history. Talk a little bit about how that impacts what you're bringing to this group. How is Wawasee's basketball past part of our present?
No, it's a great question. I appreciate that.
Again, that's why they pay me.
You know, I'm going back to what Cass said. I said, you know, maybe that's why I think I love doing this so much right now. Is I was used to being a fan. You know, with Vince and Clint and what they did playing together, and you know the things that they were able to do here with their teammates and the great years before them and after them. That's what we want to get back to. You know, we want to get back to that winning tradition. And when you come to Wawasee, man, this is going to be a tough game, right? And it is right now, but getting those W's in the column and things. But we're going to get back to that, and the groundwork's there. So I think with I had a blast watching my brothers play and their buddies, and I think that's why I have a blast doing what I'm doing now. I'm used to sitting back and cheering on the guys. So
how does the gym feel to you compared to the way it felt back in the day?
That is a great question. I want to hear this.
Again, it's why they pay me the big.
Yeah, you're tremendous.
That is a great question. I talk about this often, and with other coaches, that I have that coach around here and buddies. But I think when it went to class basketball, there's a lot of good things that come from that. There's a piece of me that I do miss the non-class basketball and the upsets of the teams, and I do think sectionals were a bigger deal then when it was.
Well, there are gymnasiums we could talk about that have the whole feel is gone, and I think it goes right back to that. McEwen is probably the one that got hurt the most, because that thing just feels like a tomb now. It feels like an ice-cold tomb.
Yeah.
And I think class basketball did that. But I don't think we've suffered as much as that.
No, and that's what I was getting at. It was I was just talking to Jeremy Van Loo out here before I stepped in, and man, what a neat atmosphere. And I want to give some what a phenomenal job that he's doing with the CPG-TV. What a phenomenal job by our band that comes in and supports us and plays hard every single night at our home games. And that vibe of man, I said that got me going before the game with Wawasee basketball and the video boards coming down, the band playing, and
that was nice.
It was a neat, and the fans were in there. I was in the locker room getting ready for the varsity game, and there was about 3 or 4 minutes left, and JV made a comeback, and very exciting. The fans were cheering. I said, "That's high school basketball, and that's
in
what
Indiana.
It should be." That to me, that was awesome.
You don't have that.
You don't get that anywhere else.
No,
maybe Texas with football, but not with basketball.
No.
I don't think you get it anywhere else.
No, I spent a few years in Cincinnati, and it wasn't nearly the same.
Yeah.
You come and I don't understand why nobody understands why it's so infatuation or help me out here, Bill.
How special
yes
it really is. And how unusual and how precious that is. And the only way it stays is if the community comes around to support it, right. which it always has.
And that's why you're here, right, Scott? I mean, this is part of your DNA. I mean, it's in your blood. Your mom passed that on down to you.
Yeah, it was, I was in Fort Wayne, and then I moved back 6 years ago, and this is where I wanted my kids to go to school. And my wife's from Fairfield, and, me being here in the community with my business that, my dad started, and this is where I want to be, and I want to get back the most I can, because this community gave me an awful lot. So I think it's my job to do what I can to help these kids, become good young men and get out there and do some great things.
Well, Scott, you're bringing you're bringing all sorts of different things to the bench from a outside community volunteer perspective, from a fun and not necessarily another school teacher, but another basketball person perspective. Really appreciate what you're doing down there and the work you're putting in with the Wawasee Warrior basketball program. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate what you do too.
We'll come back with a final word with Coach Everingham about this week's opponents next here on Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. And welcome back to Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. Rejoined by the head basketball coach for the Wawasee Warriors, Coach John Everingham. Coach, you've got such a great cohort of assistants and folks that you coach with. We just got done talking with Coach Scott Beasley. What a great group of guys you're working with. Yeah, we really do. Sometimes it feels like an all-star crew. We got Coach O'Connell shared a photo of when I think he was a senior in high school. He was sitting on the bench at Warsaw, and Chad Hoffert, was an assistant coach for Al Rhodes at the time.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, that's a long time ago. And actually pictured in there was also John Snyder, our assistant principal, who was also an assistant coach. Doug Ogle was in that picture, and a few others. So we've been around. It's hard to believe, but we've been around a while and coaching and working with kids and things like that. But Coach Beasley agreed to, and to be perfectly honest, I don't know why he agreed. He's probably wondering that himself, but it's a lot of work, and there's certainly a lot of things that go on during a basketball season, and we're very appreciative of Coach Beasley volunteering his time, to come in and spend some time and building relationships with our players. It's really key to have somebody from the community, I think, come in and volunteer and work with our guys. Just a different perspective. They're not the teacher in the school, and they're just a normal guy from the outside. And certainly he's got perspective on what it used to be like here, and so he's done a great job. But Coach Hoffert, Coach O'Connell, Coach Hetrick, and the things he does, with the stats and coming to practice every day, the Junior Warriors, the Club One, all that stuff. And we talked about Coach Wilson, that kind of rounds off our high school staff, in addition to Pat O'Connell, who's here to give us some wisdom in his older years. So
he helps his kid out, helps his kid JV, or helps his kid varsity coaching. Yeah. He'll tell him what to tell you. Yeah, that's right. What happens, I think.
No, they all do, actually. So the rule is, I have a limited amount of space in my brain, I think, during the varsity games.
I can relate to that.
And so the rule is, when they have suggestions, I can't have 5 people giving me suggestions at one time. My brain will explode. But they all give their suggestions to Nate. Nate filters all of that and then gives me what he thinks I need to hear. And so it's kind of and sometimes I'll catch them talking to Nate. And last night I saw Coach Beasley telling Nate, Nate, I was looking at him, why don't you tell me? I'm sitting right here.
Supposed to.
And then I thought, well, that's actually what we ask him to do. So they respect that considerably. And actually, that happens just about any bench that you go to in a high school game, where you got a lead assistant, and Nate does a great job for us, and kind of gets all the information, packs it up, and then delivers it to me in my ear.
And he's a math person. And, he uses that math, and he goes over the stats. He can tell me this about, I always talk to him usually before the game, not always, but almost about the stats and about their leading. He can give you the stats. Well, this guy's shooting such and such, and this guy's shooting, and we got to stop this guy because he's, and I'm thinking, whoa. So he does a lot of work on his own every week.
You can't slip one past him. Ask him about some top 10 players in the steals category or something.
Exactly. That's what I tried to
You
get
asked
across.
him about that. How close is, well, we do have some things coming up. Dukes is approaching 1,000 points, and hopefully he can get there. But, Austin Miller a few years back and ended up second on the steals list. And so he's got all those stats and top 10 things, and he's a numbers guy. And so that stuff sticks in your brain. So if you want to know anything about Wawasee basketball over the course of history, who's got the most points ever in a game, or something weird, or free throw percentage or field goal percentage, I promise you he knows it.
He's like a Google. You just touch him and tell him what it is, and he'll come out with the exact results.
Yeah.
So this week we're on the road twice. First of all, Tuesday night we'll travel over to Emmetown. Kaz and I will have a milkshake, and then we'll
don't tell my wife.
Oh, I see. And then we'll head on over and play a little basketball at Westview.
Westview's, they always do this recognition. It feels like they recognize every person in their school. There literally is like 120 people that they recognize, and I think it's for like academic honors, and good for those kids. I think it's cool. But after the JV game, and then it just kind of gives you the feel that we're not going to get back here till midnight or whatever. Yeah. But so we're the lucky ones that get to have that done on the game that we go over there. But after the JV game, usually there's about a 20-minute break or whatever. And I remember going over there doing the radio, actually, when we first got here, and there were like 49 fouls called.
Oh,
so
they
sounds about right.
In between the JV and the varsity game, and Coach Waltz, Ed Waltz, was actually the head coach that night, due to Coach Wachowski not being able to be there. And the total fouls in the game had to be one of the highest in the history of Indiana high school. I actually looked it up and was trying to find it, because there was like 49 fouls. I was doing the radio like you guys do with Chad Hoffert that night. And so the game took forever. So there's like a 20-minute intermission to recognize the students from Westview. And then we called a game with like 49 fouls, and look at the clock when we're walking out of there. It was like 10-15 or
Time
something.
it with a sundial indoors.
Oh, geez.
This year, last year, the Westview had a brand new coach that lasted 1 year. He's now over at Eastside. Ed Bentley, I think their Eastside's ranked third in the state, right behind Central Noble. But Rob Yoder, very successful coach at Westview, has come back for what he claims is just 1 year. And us basketball that's got coaching in your blood, we all say we got 1 more year, one more year. So
It goes on for 100 years.
yeah, so I don't know if he's going to just do it for 1 year, or if he was serious about that, or if he'll be there for a while again, who knows. But he's back, and it's the old school, Westview basketball where they're going to play really aggressive and fast. And we'll probably see a little bit of trapping, a little bit of pressing, and they're going to want to try to speed the game up on us. And it's really typical Westview team that just got, scrappy players and good shooters. And so they're going to attack the basket, and they're going to shoot the ball well. And right now, I think they got some younger guys on their team. They're about a 500 basketball team, and have had some good wins and some ones that look really strange and awkward, score-wise. So we'll take a look on film and really get to know them probably later today and tomorrow, develop that game plan and try to execute that. But we do also, we've been spoiled. We've had a lot of home games.
Oh, a ton of them.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
What's going to happen next year?
Almost flipped. But I will tell you, I also would like to know, in Wawasee basketball history, I'll have to ask Coach O'Connell, what's the record for the most home games played in his season? Because we played 13 this year with potential to play. I'm sorry, we played 12 right now. Mm-hmm. We play 13 will be Tippy Valley, and then there's potential to play 3 more in the sectional.
Yeah, when you win the sectional.
That'd be 16 home games. 16 home games. That's a lot of home games. But anyway, the reason I tell you that is because we go on the road this week at Westview, and then at East Noble. Mm-hmm. And then after that, somebody might have to help me out.
We come back to Tippy Valley.
We come back. Oh, no, we have the makeup game.
Oh, we got the makeup game. That's right, on the 21st.
We makeup game on Monday on the road at Elkhart Christian.
Yeah.
So we have 3 road games. We go Tuesday, Friday, Monday, and then we're back at home against Tippy Valley. So the next 3 games here will be on the road, which is going to be a little different feel for us.
We talked a little bit about West Noble or Westview, very typical Westview team, scrappy. They're going to play a lot of trap. They're going to play up and down the floor a lot. What about East Noble? What can you tell us there?
It's
in Kendallville. That much I know.
Yeah. Well, shoot, I don't know if you guys remember last year, but they got. Oh boy, I can't remember his name, but it's Brad Miller's. Did you guys remember Brad Miller?
Yep.
7-footer, played for the Bulls. Was a NBA All-Star, played over at East Noble, but his nephew,
gosh,
plays on the team, and he is a full-grown monster.
Oh wow!
And so he's 6'9", and he is probably 320.
Oh my god,
320 pounds. I mean, he is huge.
Yeah.
And so he's going to be a handful, to say the least. But we did a pretty good job with him last year, and I think we ended up winning. But it was one of those nights where everything was falling at home against East Noble. Ethan Carey hit a bunch of threes. Cameron hit 2 or 3, and it was one of those nights we just run right over them. And so there was a kid named Denton who tore his ACL his sophomore year in his right knee. His junior year, he starts at the beginning of the season, tears his ACL on his left knee, and he's their most skilled, best player. Misses his sophomore year, his junior year, and he's back for his senior year. He's got 2 knee braces, but he's having an amazing season, from the outside. And then they got the big kid underneath that's 6'9", 320 pounds, and he is a lot to handle down there. Last year, Colin did a pretty good job on him, trying to knock him off his spot a little bit. But they got a brand new coach. The youngest coach ever to coach a high school basketball game is at East Noble right now.
Really?
That's true.
Wow.
Yep, 21 years old. He got a head coaching job at a 4A school, and he's done a pretty good job over there. I'm not sure what their record is right now, but
It's decent.
Yeah, they have a good record, and they've had some big wins this year. So I'll bet you they've won 12 to 14 games this year, and with the Denton on the outside, a couple of their guards that they had from last year,
Sure.
and then the kid on the inside, they've been a lot to handle.
Quite a combination of weapons there.
All the schools up here, they all have decent. I mean, you have to play your A game every game if you're gonna come out with a winning season. It's just very tough basketball up here.
It is. I was telling, actually last night, was telling Coach Sorrell stories, and I know you guys mention his name sometimes, but I know when I first started coaching, he certainly was my mentor for a long time until he passed away. But I know one thing he told me that I'll never forget, along with a lot of other things, but coaching wise, he was asking me about my team. He's how's your team going to be this year? And I said, Coach, I think they're going to be pretty good. I think we could have a winning record this year. And he says, well, the thing about winning records is not always how good your team is. It's how good the teams are on your schedule. And so, sometimes you get in seasons where, you get a stretch of programs that maybe are a little bit down.
Yep.
And because every school goes through cycles,
yep.
Right? And for us this year, it's one of those seasons where you feel like everybody's on the uptick, in their program. And so they got their senior-laden team, and they got, juniors and seniors, upperclassmen that are leading the way for them. They got a good record and things like that. It just seems like night in and night out, the hits keep on coming, for us, where they're actually good basketball teams. And so people get probably tired of me saying that was a good basketball team right there, but it's true. We just haven't had any, stinkers of teams come in and roll over and just not be very good. We've played a really good schedule, and I'm hoping that those are the types of things that get us ready for postseason play.
In high school ball, everybody rides the sine wave.
You
go from the top to the bottom and back to the top, and it's just the nature of the way that you bring kids into a program, and then they go up and down. It just happens, and sometimes those waves start to synchronize. And
I think Wawasee, if you look at the JV,
mm-hmm.
and you look at and one of the things I'm really really impressed with is like the C team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, here are kids that would normally not get a chance to play, and now they're getting a chance to play. And they get, hey, if they want to work. I think about the Michael Jordan story. Get cut in the 7th grade, and where did he wind up in basketball? So at the C team level, you can go ahead, and if you want to play, you got a chance to work, and you've got excellent coaches to coach you. So you got an opportunity that didn't exist in my day.
Yeah, and you look at our cycle, and I've been hesitant to talk about this a whole lot because we are so focused on this season and making the most of this team, and we owe it to our seniors, to do that. And so we're not, certainly in the back of your mind, in the back of most people's mind, I think you think about the freshmen that we're playing right now, the freshmen on the junior varsity that are experiencing success. We had an 8th grade team. We've talked about this before. Our cycle is coming, and it's going to be really strong. And I think there's a lot of people that really, really know that. People that know basketball best know that, we're going to be a handful, plus, in the next 3-4 years, that we're going to be a force to be reckoned with in the NLC. And if you can do that at Class 3A, if you can be a force to reckon with in the NLC, if you finish 500 or above, you're a force to be reckoned with in the state of Indiana in Class 3A. And so I think those days are coming, and I think they're coming soon. But to make sure that we're making the most out of this season and to make the most out of Keaton and Caden's senior year, we're trying to do it right now, and so we got guys playing hard, and we're really competing at a high level. But we're talking about cycles, and I think our cycle is certainly coming in the future.
And Coach, I got to congratulate you. You are doing a tremendous job of organizing this cycle. I mean, all the hours you put in, all the community involvement you got put in, all the 3 communities that you go to and you're seen there, and you're encouraging the kids and the coaching staff, and you're working with the coaches in those communities. I mean, this is why we've got a good future ahead in Wawasee basketball.
I will tell you that I took a short break from my duties here, with the teaching, and made a trip over to Milford this week because we got a 6'5" 8th grader over there, and so people ask me all the time, do you recruit, or the topic of recruiting comes up, and you got these players from different schools ending up at another school. It's happening all over the state. And so jokingly, people say, do you recruit? I say, absolutely I do. And the truth of the matter is, I do. But I recruit within our own school district.
Yeah.
And so I have never and will never go outside of our school district to recruit. And I think that's the way you're supposed to do it. And I think the majority of coaches do it that way. But, I went to Milford this week, and we have a 6'5". I won't mention his name on air, but if you know who I'm talking about, if you're inside the program, you probably know who I'm talking about. But, I went over there and chatted with him, just a little bit. And they were nice enough to pull him down to the office and basically recruiting, and going over there and saying, hey, you really got a chance to be pretty good. So I do make trips to the middle schools and talk to some of the guys that I really think can help us out, in our high school program, and make sure they feel good about their season and their abilities, and really make them aware of what's coming up, in the spring and the summer. And so
That's
to try to
huge.
get them excited about what we're doing. Our numbers are as good as they've been since I've been here. We got the most kids that we've had in our program participate. And I think that stems from some of the work that we put in at younger
You
levels.
do a lot of work.
Guys, thanks for being here. Coach, thank you very much for joining us
Wait,
this morning.
Bill. Wait, you got to wait.
Super
We got
Bowl
time?
prediction.
We got
Yeah,
time
we
for the
got
Super
time.
Bowl.
I predict that there will be 4 quarters in this year's Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah, and the Bengals got to win, because I went to Xavier and I used to usher. I was a Pinkerton guard at the old Cincinnati Stadium, and that was a horrible stadium. They had they had football and baseball there, and it wasn't good for either of them. They got the new stadium, and they've got a great group of athletes. So go Bengals.
I'm taking the Bengals just in support of Cass.
Very good.
There you go.
All right. Well, Coach's Corner will be back next week here on 93.7 FM The Mix, 937themix.com, WRWTLP, Syracuse.